Alright, all set for our next module, which is about strings. It's a very interesting topic. So let's cover one by one. So I have lots of things to discuss. So first one is we will talk about how to create string. What is this string, right? So creating strings will be our first topic. Okay, and now a string, I think I would have already mentioned this before during the starting modules, right? So anything in between double quotes, single quotes, all of that. So let's look at these things in detail. So there are three ways in which how you can actually write strings. So for example, so single quote strings. So they look something like, okay, hello, right? So so these are called single quotes, right? So the one that looks like this, in between this you can write a string, right? Or it can also be a double quote string. So double quote strings, so you can put double and this, right? Or it could be a triple quote string. So triple quote strings, right? So this is like more like you put this three quotes like this, and then you put hello inside it, and then you close it. You run this. So what you have is, let's say you have single quote strings, it will give you this. If you put double quote strings, it will also give you this, and if you do a triple quote strings, you can do this as well, right? So ideally, when do you use single quote, double quote, right? So I would always recommend to use double quote. So this one is used mostly if you have like a sentences, right? So this triple quote, so for example, these are also called multi-line like strings, right? So multi-lines, let's say multi-line string. So you want to write some kind of a long paragraph, right? So what you can do is, so this is line 1 in my story, right? So this is line 2 in my story, right? So you can write like a multi-line string as well. So this triple quotes is mostly used in this multi-line paragraphs, all of this. Okay, so that's how you can access it. So you can see this n is nothing but a new line, right? Because every time there's a new line, so it gives you that line as well. Okay, so that is about creating a string. Okay, so now that we have created a string, so just like we have accessed the list, you can also access the characters in a string. So let's see how you can actually do it. So you can accessing, so character, I'm just calling it char. So yes, so let's see how you can actually access. It's very simple or very similar to what we have done in the lists module, right? So for example, you have single quote strings, and then if you access the 0th element of that string, which is nothing but your h, if you try to access the next element, so this is nothing but your e. Very simple, right? So you can access it via using this indexing, so this kind of a list indexing itself. Okay, now another very similar to what we saw in the lists is slicing, right? So remember slicing the bread, right? So which we have already done, right? So 3 is slicing a string. So let's see how you can actually do that as well, right? So very simple. Again, you take a single quote string, and let's say you want till the third character, right? You put colon and 3, you get this. If you want the fourth character also, you put 4 and you get the slicing of this string. Or if you want to do the same thing for your multi-line, right? So multi-line string, I want to look at the first 10 characters, right? So you just put 10, so you get this. This is L, right? So if you want like 15 characters, you get this, right? So just to figure out, right? So till the nth character. Okay, and another thing is again, so just recalling it, negative indexing. So here also you can use your negative indexing that we have learned. So negative indexing, so wherever you are looking for like a last character, you can just put So yes, for example, so let's use double quote string this time. Double quote string, put -1, then you do it, then you get your last letter of this double quote string, which is nothing but O, right? So hello, last letter was O. Okay, so these are very similar to what we have done in the lists, right? So now let's say you have you want to combine two strings. Okay, so how do we do it? So it's very simple. So just like you add two numbers, you can add two strings also. So this is called string concatenation. Okay, so basically you are trying to combine. That's what concatenate stands for, right? So combine, that's all, right? So let's see how you can do it. Very simple. So let's say hello, and then you add plus symbol, then put world, then run it. You see, it added both of them, right? So we want to add space in between. You can also add that space as a quote and then run it. You can actually see hello plus space plus world gives you this type of an output. You can keep adding to it. So plus, you want to put an exclamatory mark, it will add exclamatory mark towards the end. So hello world. So you are able to concatenate strings as well, right? So very simple. Then you can do things like, for example, you can do a repetition, right? So this is a very funny one, right? So repetition, for example, so string repetition is nothing but you want to repeat a string multiple times. Okay, repetition. Okay, now string repetition is nothing but, let's say you have a letter ha, okay, and then you want to multiply it by thrice. See what happens. See, ha ha ha, right? So you can do it like string repetitions as well. You want to put a space, then you can put a space and then run it again as well, right? So quite funny, isn't it? You can do multiplication plus then do an addition also. It will still work. Quite crazy, isn't it? So ha 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 space and then exclamatory mark, right? So this is a part of string repetition. Then if you remember, we also did find out the length of a list. So same thing you can also do here. So which is nothing but string length. So string length, same length function. So let's say I have the word hello inside a variable x, hello, right? Now I want to access the length of x. If you put length of x, it will automatically give you, so there are 5 characters, so 5. If I give a space here and then run this, you can actually see it will change the value to 6 because there is an extra character. So that is what string is. Then, so this was our number 7. We'll put 7 here. And what else you can, so last couple of things, so which is you can actually check a few things, right? For example, let's say I want to check a few things, right? So I just want to check if there's something inside my string. So for example, so this is called checking substrings. So hello world is a string, okay, but inside hello world the content can be, so for example, hello world is a string, isn't it? Now inside this you have a lot of substrings, right? So what is a substring? So any tiny part of a string. So for example, he, this is a substring. hello, this is also a substring, right? Or you can call world, this is also a substring. So substring is nothing but a part of the main string, right? What is a substring? String which is a part of the main string. Okay, now so I have a variable x is equals to hello world. Now you can actually check print if hello is inside x. You run this and look at this, it says true. and let's see if it actually gives this. You see, so sometimes you have to pay very keen attention onto this. So here you see it's the same word, right? So just we change the uppercase of H to lowercase, then it says it didn't match. Okay, so just be very careful whenever you are doing this. If I do a space in X, even that is also true, because there is a space character in between hello and world. So you can check these kind of substrings as well. So one last topic in strings is you can do some string modifications, right? So these are called string methods. So last one is string methods, or you can also call string functions, whatever you find it comfortable to use. Now the string functions are also practically very useful. For example, let's say I have a name. So name, let's say AVID, name, right? Now I want to convert this name to a lowercase letter. So you can just do name dot lower. It will automatically turn this entire uppercase into lowercase, right? So you can do the reverse also. Like let's say I have a reverse David, and then instead of doing lower, then this time do it name dot upper, right? So now check this, it will automatically convert your name to upper, right? So there are a lot more other functions. You can check about replace, you can check about strip, right? And there is also join, there is also split, right? So join is another important one if you want to read about it, right? So join is so I would recommend you to check join, the applications of join. So whenever you are working with lots of characters, some string manipulations, so join is also very useful. Join, strip, split, right? I can name a few, replace, right? So all of these right? So these are basically depending on the use case, right? So depending on your use case, you have to use all of these functions. There are lots of string functions. And finally, which is something that I've already covered, so which is f strings, so which is our final topic. You can check the previous tutorial as well if you have already watched the previous tutorial carefully. So then you already know it. String formatting. So one example is the f string, right? So I personally use f strings quite a lot, even during my job as well, right? So very useful. So these f strings are also there in SQL as well, right? So by the way, so f string, as we already knew, you pick any variable, you put some variable inside, and then you try to print that f string. My name is, instead of putting David, right? If you run this, you'll automatically get it, right? So, but what if I want to pass the name? You can pass the name using an f string, right? So you pass the variable, it will automatically change based on whatever you have, right? If you put Sachin, so hi, my name is Sachin. So that is how you can actually format strings as well. So that's all for this module. See you in the next one. Okay, so we've covered about strings. Now coming to the AI part, right? So let's continue using ChatGPT. Now, so I have the ChatGPT open here as well. So this strings is actually an important topic when it comes to interviews, even in a top company, right? Now I want to get better at strings, and also I want to get so better that I would be able to crack the interview questions, assignments, or any kind of tests. Okay, so I want to prepare myself for any kind of test that will be conducted on strings. Okay, so I want ChatGPT's help for this. So how do I do it, right? So you can just type whatever you are trying to fill, right? So I heard that strings are one of the most asked topics during tests in the hiring process. I'm learning in Python, right? So you can ask this, and now you can actually ask GPT, is this actually true, right? If it is true, can you suggest me some of the questions on strings in Python. Okay, hit the enter. Now okay, so it gives you, as you can see, strings are indeed a common topic in Python and technical interviews and coding tests. Strings are fundamental to many programming tasks, involve various operations, all of this. Okay, so that is, so you get to know that it is actually a fact, and then you get to know the reason for this as well, because it involves so many different things. Okay, now yes, it gave you some problems as well, right? So you can see these kind of problems as well. Now you can say, I find these problems very hard. Can you suggest me some resources to solve at least medium level problems? See, the one that ChatGPT has shared, these are all like for experts in Python, right? So we are not experts, right? So we are trying to learn Python at a fundamental level. So you see, it gives you some coding platforms, some resources, some books as well, some video tutorials, all of this. Okay, so this is how you can use it extensively for job interviews, test preparation, coding tests, all of this as well. I hope you liked it. See you in the next module. Now, first of all, even before talking about errors and how to handle the errors, first you need to know errors. What are these errors? What are the types of errors that you get while you're programming, right? Now let's look at them one by one. So for example, let's say I'm typing hello world, our classic use case. So hello world, right? So you put enter and you get the output as it is. But now if let's say I missed a bracket and then I run it, so you get error here, right? So that means there is something wrong with this syntax. So what you get here is this, the first type that we are talking about is called syntax error. Okay, and because we are working in collab, it is actually suggesting me to fix error. Let's see what happens if I fix the error. Okay, yeah, it's not working. Okay, no issues, right? So and the good part about Python is it also suggests you where exactly the error is. So line 1, and it is indicating you this up arrow mark that there is something missing here, syntax incomplete input. Okay, so this is the first type of error. This is called syntax error. Now next one, so let me add a little bit of code cells. Right, so next one is, so let's say I want to add 2 plus 3, right? So 2 plus 3, you get 5. Okay, but instead if I say 2 plus hello, let's say what happens. You see, you can't add a number and a string, correct? Because these are two different types. So this error is called type error, right? So it is not able to support addition of two different data types. Like for example, if you remove 2 and type in something else, hey, right, so then it will be able to work, right? But if you do it for 2, it will not work because these are two different data types. So that's why it is saying you type error. Then let's say we type something here, right? Now we just typed in, I have not defined anything, I didn't equate anything, I'm just trying to type something and run it. But now it says name is not defined. So this is called name error. Same applies with anything. For example, x, if I type in x, so it says x is not defined, right? So it doesn't know what x is. But if you say x is equals to 10 and put x, then run it, it will give you 10. Right, but if you don't give what x is and then you try to access, like let's say y directly, you didn't even define y. So how will it know that what you are trying to access? So this is called name error. Okay, then so next one, let's say we have a list. Okay, so list is equals to 1, 2 and 3. So we have 3 values inside this list, and if you want to access the first one, we'll use 0. and okay, that is coming fine. So you get value of 0th index, value of this index, you get 2, value of this. Now you see, so I typed in 3, there are only 3 values, I can access till 2, right? So this gives you 3, but if I access 3, it does not give you because there is no other value here, right? So this is called index error, and it also tells you list index out of range. So that means it is not able to access the element which is not even in the list. So this error is called index list. Okay, and later on we will talk about dictionaries as well. So let's say for now, just assume D1 is equals to some K1 and V1. So K is nothing but key, V is nothing but for value. So I just run it. So as I said, we'll discuss about dictionaries later as well. So now for example, let's say I want to access K1. So you just do it using this, you get V1. But let's say I do K2, you will not get K2 because K2 is not there inside this dictionary. Don't get confused about dictionaries, we'll do it in detail later, right? So why am I saying this? There is another error, this is called key error which means that is not present in this at all, right? This key is not present in this dictionary, right? And what else, right? So we have, for example, we also have something called a value error. Right, so let me try to give an example. So for example, let's say you want to convert 2.3 into an integer, you get 2, right? Or if you want to convert 9.87 into an integer, you can convert it, right? So very easily. But let's say I want to convert hello to an integer, this will not work, right? So because you are not putting in, proper value inside expected ones, right? So this is called value error. It pops up whenever you don't give the appropriate value inside this. Okay, so this is how different errors are there, right? So let's look back what happened. So syntax error, then type error, name error, then index error, then key errors, then a value error, right? So we've covered lots of these errors, right? Now, so there are ways to handle errors, right? And I think I missed one error, which is like a division by 0. Like for example, 10 by 0, if I try to do it, you get 0 division error as well, right? So this is another error that I wanted to cover, right? Now you can handle these errors, right? So David, what are you saying? You are saying we can handle these errors. Now for example, let's say the same error, right? So 10 by 0 giving a 0 division error, right? So now in Python you can handle errors using something called try except. Okay, so David, explain us more. What is this try except? What is happening, right? So this try except is nothing but you have to try. What is something that you want to try? You want to try division by 0, isn't it? So let's name it, give it a name. The result is equals to 10 by 0. Okay, now we know it throws an error, and in this except you can just put this 0 division error. Okay, if you get this error, what do I do, right? So you can just print. You give more explanation. So this is an error. It is saying cannot divide by 0. So now let's try to run it. So what happened here, right? So we are not getting something in red, something underlined, lots of information making us scary. But this time we got a more clearer version. So David, you are trying to divide 10 with a 0, you cannot divide it. So you can give proper explanation. It is still an error, but this time little more meaningful, right? So you are handling this error, right? So you're not correcting the error, you are handling it. Whenever you get this error, it will suggest you more clear information. Okay, so whatever error that you get previously, like for example, let's take this one, let's copy it, now put try and do this int of hello. Just for the sake of it, let's give x and write except, so this we got value error, so let's copy the value error, paste it, right, put value error, then put print, right, so and say please input appropriate value. Okay, you run this, so now you get a meaningful error rather than something that is giving you all kinds of marks, right? And another advantage of this error, it's not just for the sake of handling it. So the beauty is, so let's say you have this code x is equals to int of hello, and then below it you have another y is equals to 2 plus 3. Okay, you run this. So what happens here? So what happens here is you got an error, right? It gave you the error message, and then this line actually it didn't run. Okay, because your Python code has stopped here because it identified an error, it stopped here. But what if you use this and then you put y is equals to something else, right? So y is equals to, what did we put, 2 plus 3, and now run this. Now what happens is, now let's try to access y, you get the value of y. So not only we handled the error, we let the code continue. Even though there is an error, it gave the error plus it continued the code. That is the biggest advantage of handling these errors. Okay, so I'll repeat again. So if you don't handle the errors, your code will stop to function from that point. That is why you have to handle these errors. So if you handle the errors properly, your code will still continue without any interruptions. I hope you enjoyed this module. See you in the next one. Alright, so we've completed about error handling as well. Now to the AI part. Interestingly, I don't want to type anything here, right? Because I want you to come up with some use cases of how to ask questions, right? Because I want you to build that habit, right? But I can give you some hints. For example, definitions of errors, resolving the code, correcting the code, identifying your mistakes. So there are a bunch of things that you can actually do, but I want you to come up with a prompt, and for example, let's say you wrote some code, you made a mistake, and now I want you to use GPT to correct your code, to rectify it, and then successfully run the code. I want you to try this out, so please try it out, right? So and I hope you will come through it. Okay, alright, so good luck, see you in the next module. Alright, so our next module is about file handling in Python, right? So let's put our heading first. So this is file handling in Python. So we've learned about error handling. So similarly, how do we handle different types of files? And let us actually use AI for this, right? So because we don't have, so we just see a notebook here, right? But if I have to handle files, first I need to have a file created, isn't it? So let us try to create a simple text file, right? So text file, when I say text file, it's like a notepad file or a word file or a word document. So it ends with .txt. Okay, so our goal is to create a .txt file. Okay, so that you can actually ask. So as you see, it's asking generate with AI. So let's click on generate and type in so create a txt file here in Colab. I'm typing right in front of you. Let's hit enter, and here we go, right? So it has given us a sample code, and let us run this code. Okay, so it has actually run this code, and it is saying myfile.txt. So you can actually check whether this file is created or not right here. So there is this option. So this is File Explorer or Files. Click on this, and you actually see that myfile.txt is created. Okay, so this is amazing, isn't it? You just double click on this file, it will open up right here. You can actually edit all of this file as well. You can remove everything and save this file you can see we have actually created a file, txt file right here in Colab, using this using a simple AI command, right? Now that the file is created, okay, so you can actually do a lot of things with this file. Okay, and let's go back to this file. Let's fill it up with a dummy text. Okay, hello, this is a text file in Colab. This, I'll just put a random text. This is second line, right? So something like this. Okay, I save it, then I close it. Now for example, so any file, a general syntax for opening a file, for accessing a file in Python goes something like this. Open, so it starts with open, and then you put your file. For example, it is myfile.txt, so you put your file myfile.txt. okay, so you put your file name, and then here what you do is you put a mode, right? This is called a mode, and I'm just putting a general name, so this is file name. Okay, so if I have to zoom it for you, so open, file name, mode, right? So file name is what your file name, so in this case file name is nothing but your myfile.txt, right? So this could be a txt file, it could be a JSON file, anything, right? So it could be of any format, it will accept. And the mode is actually read, write, append, all of that, right? For each of these are denoted using letters. For example, for read you denote it with R, right? So for write you denote it with W, right? So with append you denote it with A, right? So for different modes there are these different letters for Python to understand. Okay, now let us try to access this file using Python. So let's learn how to do it. Now, okay, so we've created a file, we learned about simple syntax, we learned what goes inside this file. Now let us look at how do we actually write the code for this. So anything that has to do with if you want to open a file, if you want to write a file, it starts with a with command, with open. So you can see the the GPT is already giving me the prompt. Okay, with open my file, I'll put this myfile.txt. So if I have to accept it, it is saying me to use a tab key, right? So it already accepts. So my file R, so R is for read. So you give it a shortcut name for this file, so as F. Now this file you can actually read it. So why are we printing it? To print the content inside this myfile.txt. Let's run this command, and you see, hello, this is a text Colab file. Whatever we saw in the text file, you can actually see it right here. Isn't it amazing, right? You can do a bunch of things, like for example, now let us try to append something. Let's try to add something with open. So let's press the tab key to autofill it. Okay, it has autofilled everything, but instead of read, let's try to append this time, right? So I want to add something. So how do I do that? So to append it, so you just have to write, so F, which is our file. Again, you automatically see it is giving us all the prompts. So this is second line, right? So, or let's say this is the third line, right? You hit enter. Okay, we've hit enter. Now once again, let's copy this file, let's paste it, then let's run it. Okay, now you see it has actually added a new line because we put this like this \n, right? So it is actually, yeah, so this this will create a new line, and then this is the third line. So this way you can actually read file, append some content. You can also write a file from scratch, right? So this is how simple you can actually access files. So we just saw txt file. Now let us create a CSV file, right? So create a CSV file with 2 columns, 2 rows, right? So some simple random file, right? So it has, okay, so import CSV, it is doing something, you don't think about anything, just run this command. You see, it is actually using the open command that we learned, width that we've learned, W that we've learned, writing all the CSV writers. So let us see if it has created that file. Okay, you just refresh it, right? So I didn't see the file, so I refreshed it, I was able to see the file. Now let's open this file. If it was created, so yes, it has created a simple file, isn't it? So column 1, column 2, data 1, data 2. So now to handle CSV files, you can use pandas, import pandas as PD. So don't worry. So David, what is this import and all? So we will learn about this when we come to the Python libraries or Python modules. So there you will understand it better. So I'm just explaining you how to access files. Okay, to access files you can just say pd.read CSV and put your my CSV here. So which is my CSV.csv. Just run this command. You will be able to see your CSV file with all the formatting, right? So we've learned how to access text files, we've learned how to access CSV files, and we've also learned how to use a simple AI to generate the files, generate simple prompts as well. Okay, so that's all for this module. See you in the next one. Alright, our next topic is on dictionaries. That's what we'll be discussing in this. So dictionaries is a very important topic in terms of two things. One is conceptually understanding when to use dictionaries and what are the applications of it. And second thing is it is actually used during your interviews, during your programming assessment. For example, let's say you are shortlisted to a company and they give you some coding round, something. In those kind of rounds, actually your solution will be using dictionary at some point. Okay, so especially keeping interviews in mind, keeping applications in mind, so dictionaries is a very important topic. Okay, so let's understand. So all the way starting from creating a dictionary, right? So here let me put creating a dictionary. Now even before talking about creating a dictionary, I just want you to imagine one thing. For example, when I said the word dictionary, right, so what flashes your mind, right? So some small book that is in your house, you are using to refer to words and their meanings, all of that. We've all done that quite a few years ago, right? I'm sure everyone in their house has a dictionary, right? So what does that dictionary have? It has a word and it has a meaning, right? It has two things. So even in Python, there are two things for a dictionary. There's a key, there's a value, right? So I'll try to draw some parallels with the physical dictionary and the Python dictionary here as well. So first of all, let's try to create a sample dictionary. Okay, so let's say student. Okay, so student, so how do you create an empty dictionary? You just put curly braces. Okay, so this is how you create a dictionary. So remember, for list we have used square brackets. For dictionaries we are using curly braces. Okay, so don't get confused. So curly braces for dictionaries. Now, okay, so empty dictionary is fine, but how do I store information inside a dictionary? For example, let's say name, age, gender we want to store for a student. Name, age, gender. Okay, so let's say there's a student, you can say Raju, somebody. Okay, so let's say student is equals to, and you can store his name. Okay, so you have to put name and then colon the value of that key. So basically what is his name? So let's say student's name is Raju, right? So I'll type it here first and then I'll explain you why are we following this kind of a technique. Okay, then put a comma, then his age, then put any number, let's say 27, let's say we go with gender and let's type in male. Okay, so look at this. So we put curly braces, we have student as a variable, put an equal to symbol. Now inside this there are three things: name, age, gender, right? So these are separated by commas, you can see. So there's a comma here after the name, there's a comma here after age. So each of these are separated by commas. So these things are called key value pairs. What is this called? They are called key value pairs. So how many pairs are there in here? 3, right? So name is Raju, age is this, gender, and the value of it, right? So this is called a key, this is called the value. So key and value are linked using colon. Okay, so you can see a colon here. So this is called a colon. So on left side you have a key, on right side you have the value, and you can see the keys are in quotes, all of them, and then the values as well. So you can put any kind of values. It could be string, integer, right? So for example, you can also put things like qualified, right? So some exam qualification, something you can add something like a false or a true, right? It accepts all kinds of data types as well. Okay, so now if you run this, just put student, or you can just put print student, you will be automatically able to print the entire dictionary of this student. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now moving on to accessing this value. So how do I access these entire dictionary? So let's take a look at that also. So our second topic is about accessing values. Okay, you put double quotes. Now accessing value. So let's say I only am interested in identifying the age of this student. So what do? You take your dictionary first, student, then what are you interested in? Age. So the way you access is put square brackets. In list, when we did, we were putting all these 0, 1, 2, right? But here we have to give key as the input. That key, for example, let's say it is age. If I put age, you get the student's age. If I put name, I get student's name, isn't it? So it's quite simple. So whatever key that you are looking for, you can actually use those key values. Okay, and if you want to edit also, you can do that. For example, student name, you want to edit this name to something else. So let's say you put David and then you run it. Now let's try to run your student dictionary, and you see it is automatically updated. So whatever key that you want to update, you can do that. So let's say I want to update age to 26, right? So now it will automatically get updated. You can see that student age 26, right? So quite simple. You can access elements, you can update them, right? So you can do all of that, right? Now coming to the third important thing, right? So this is actually a very important one. As I said, right, so we'll be using dictionaries in interview questions, all of that, right? So now what concept in interviews is something that you will face is, so this is nothing but looping through a dictionary. So this is our number 3. So this is actually a little confusing one as well, so just pay attention. Loop through a dictionary. Okay, now what do I mean by loop through a dictionary? For example, I have student dictionary, right? I have name, age, gender, qualified, all of this. Very good. Now if I want to access these values using a loop, so how do I do that? So there are multiple ways of how you can actually do it. For example, let's say I type for key in student, okay, colon, then just print the key. So let's see what happens. What happened here? You just got the keys, right, for key in a student. So that means in dict, So this key does not matter. Like I'll say for A in student, print A. This will actually give you the keys. Okay. So if you access a dictionary just by its name using a for loop, so what do you get? You get keys. If you want to get values, you can also get those values. For value in this time, what you have to do is you have to put student dot values. Okay, student dot values. Now print value. Okay, so this is how you can get values. So keys you can get like this. Value you have to put student dot values, and then you will be able to access these values. But see, many of the times we will be using key and value together, isn't it? Right? It's not like they are two separate things. They're paired up, right? So what is the normal convention? So key is called K, right? So you just use K, and value is represented using V, right? So for K comma V in student dot items, you use items. I'll tell you why items, because these items will give you access to both. See, just using the dictionary gives access to key. This dictionary dot values gives you access to the values, but this dictionary dot items gives you value to both. Let's see how. Print K comma V, and then you see you have K and you have V. Isn't this amazing, right? So very simple. So we were able to access only key, we were able to access only value, and we are able to access both key and value as well. So this is how you can actually access both of these things. Right, now for example, you can answer questions like, let's say I want to look at if the name is actually a key inside this dictionary. Okay, so how do I check that? For K in student, okay, if K is equals to name, okay, so print, let's say, found the key. Okay, you just run it. Okay, so because it is actually there inside this. Right, so instead of writing a for, if, all of this, you can actually simplify the whole code as well. Like for example, you can just say if name in student print true, okay, else print false. You just run this. So as you see, so it just identifies, you don't need even a loop, right? So it automatically checks all the keys inside a dictionary just using this if statement, and then it gives you true. Like for example, let's say I want to access something like a hobby, right? A hobby is something that is not in our dictionary, right? So it will give you false, right? So this is how you can actually use just if and in, so to access all the, to check what keys are present inside a dictionary, right? So this is something that is very useful. So keep practicing problems around these K comma V dot items, and then this as well, right? So to be able to check if the dictionary actually has these kind of keys. So that's all for this module. See you in the next one. Alright, so we finished learning about the basics of Python dictionaries. Now let's get to the AI part. So this week we'll be using Claude AI. So this is also another AI tool that you can use for improving your efficiency in Python. So very similar to ChatGPT or the Gemini that we've used, and sometimes this Claude AI is actually considered to be the best one amongst others. Okay, so let's see how you can use this for this week. Right, so our first use case is Python dictionaries. So dictionaries, as I said, there are some tricky questions that you can face about dictionaries. Also solve some complicated problems as well, right? So you can ask things like, tell me 10 things about Python dictionaries that I can do as a beginner in Python. Okay, enter, and then here we go, right? So it says, so whatever we've done, right? So whatever we've done so far, check if a key exists. We've done all of this, if you remember, right? So dot keys, dot values, dot items, remove a key pair, right? So let's say I'm not satisfied. Tell me 10 more, right? So you can keep adding more conversation to this as well, right? So if you want to learn more advanced things, okay. So alright, I hope you will enjoy it. So as we go forward, I'll tell you more amazing things on how you can use Claude AI. I'll see you in the next module.
So share it with the rest of the people. Comment section. Please like the video and subscribe it. Thank you very much.